Hello everybody, this is Coach International Master Roderick Nava, and once again, welcome to our YouTube channel. And today, we're gonna talk about the Game 7 happened in the ongoing World Chess Championship in Dubai between World Chess Champion Magnus Carlsen and the Challenger Ian Nepomniachtchi of Russia. After game number 6, the score is 3.5 and 2.5 in favor of the world champion. So in game number 7, we are going to look on the nature happened, the style, and the facing, especially to Nepo's side as he needs to neutralize the score. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. Nepo played e4, Magnus played e5, knight f3, knight c6, and again, bishop b5, Ruy Lopez on the board, and Magnus played again the very classical Spanish approach, a6, then bishop a4, knight f6, develop, pressure the e4, and castle, bishop e7, rook e1, develop to protect the pawn, and now b5, bishop b3, castle, and now a4 once again. Nepo applied the anti-Marshall Gambit. So we know that the Marshall Gambit flows with c3 and then black would play d5, captures, and knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5, then c6 first to protect the knight, and now white would play d4, bishop d6, rook e1, and white goes queen h4 to attack the h2, and then g3, then queen h3, where black has a lot of resources here to produce a lot of complications and pressures towards the white's position. So yeah, that's why Nepo really don't want that kind of complicated position. So that's why he played a4, and then now rook b8, a takes b5, a takes b5, then h3, prophylactic move to protect the g4 square, and then now d6. Okay, so Magnus had no choice but to play d6 rather than d5 in this position. Okay, so d6, extra support on e5 pawn and also to give way control on the light square bishop diagonal. Then d3, Nepo chose the third line rather than the most common c3, then d4. So let us look on the d3 third line. h6 to protect the g5 square also. Prophylactic move to avoid knight g5 in the future that can bring pressure on the f7 pawn. So here, knight c3, simple development to control the d5 square. Rook e8 develop, knight d5, centralizing the knight. And then now we have bishop f8, the novelty in this position. Because normally, black responds with knight takes d5, then bishop takes d5. So a lot of games happened in this position. But let's take a look back on the novelty, bishop f8, and now simply Nepo captured the knight, then queen takes f6, c3 to control the d4 square, and then now knight e7. So Magnus decided to transfer his knight to g6, in which this move is very normal and typical in the Ruy Lopez as black. And now bishop e3, simple development, bishop e6, challenging the light square bishop, and then now d4. E takes d4, c takes d4, bishop takes b3, queen takes b3, and knight g6, simply to attack the e4 pawn. And instead of protecting the pawn on e4, Nepo rather chose the move rook ec1 and to attack the c7 pawn. And c5, Magnus applied a very strong but simple idea to simplify all the pawns, exchange all the pawns and pieces as much as possible to gain equality, to balance the position. Draw is very welcome to Magnus, but in the side of Nepo, it is very sad. Alright, so here, Nepo decided to play e5 to make some gamble, complications, but Magnus simply played queen f5. So let us look first, what if Nepo captures the pawn on c5? Then Magnus would take simply d takes c5, bishop takes c5, then rook takes e4. So the position still balanced. Bishop takes f8, knight takes f8. There's no big complications in this position. So still equal as you look on the evaluation bar in the left side. Okay, so let's go back. That's why Nepo decided to play e5. Then Magnus played queen f5. Then now, he took the pawn on c5, capture, bishop takes c5, then a very simple bishop takes, rook takes, then simply knight takes e5. Exchange all the pawns as much as possible, then minor pieces to follow, and now, knight takes e5. Of course, couldn't take the pawn on b5 because of rook takes b5, queen takes b5, then knight takes f3 with check, and now the queen will fly away. Okay, so let's go back. And after knight takes e5, let's say king h1 to maintain the pressure on the knight and to maintain the pin in general. But then black has a very good queen d3, intending to simplify again to exchange the queen, so the position still remains equal. Okay? So let's go back. That's why Nepo has no choice but to capture on e5, capture, and yeah, the position now on the board is very clean. Queen c3 offers the queen exchange, then of course accepted. Capture, rook c8, rook a5, capture, and now rook c1 check, king h2, then rook c3 to have a very good boundary, so to avoid the king activation. Now h4 to give more space in the king side, g6, g3, h5, the pawn structure is very symmetrical. And now king g2, king g7, rook a5, king f6, rook b5, and then now we have a dancing king. Dancing king, all the dancing king. Alright, the position is totally draw and they are decided to accept the draw results. Alright, so after game number 7, they gathered the score of 4-3, still in favor of the world champion. Alright, so let us wait on the game number 8. So if you have any ideas and suggestions, please do comments in the section below. What will happen in the game number 8? So after that game, I'm going to analyze again and I will post here in our YouTube channel. Thank you very much once again in your time watching this video. And once again, this is Coach International Master Roderick Nava. God willing, I'll see you next time.